Hi there folks, my name is NovaWing24 and welcome to another little review of an FSX Steam Edition product. So today we're going to be having a look at the recently released MilViz Studios Junkers JU-87 D5 and G2. So first of all, before we get started, I want to say thank you very much to the wonderful guys over at Dovetail Games for providing me with the review copy of this very infamous dive bomber from the Second World War. So yeah, we're going to be having a look at that one today. We're going to start off and do most of the review today here in the D5, and then we are going to do some. We're going to do a quick little trip in the G2 a little bit later on as well. All right, so starting of course off as we do, we'll just have a look at the external here. So the texturing is really nice and quite well done. It's nice to see the sort of like the weathering effects that you're getting with it as well, which is pretty cool to see. Like it's something that I first noticed with the MilViz Phantoms, and I really loved how they captured the sort of rugged, weathered look about it. And this Stuka, although it's one of their earlier products, is definitely no exception to that and provides that this the used, worn feeling, which is really nice, and it adds something. It really does. It adds something, and I respect that as a lot as a repainter myself as well. So the texturing is quite nice. It's a little reflective. Possibly a little too reflective for being a wartime fighter of the Second World War. Wartime fighter, we're getting into wartime bomber from the Second World War. But otherwise, as I said, the texture detailing is absolutely beautiful and looks really impressive as well. Externally, the model is quite nice. They get the elongated wingtips that were a feature of the later models of the Stuka. The earlier models had very clipped sort of straight sort of wingtips, whereas the later variants had the slightly elongated and more rounded wingtips. So there you go. Alrighty, so now that we've had a look around the outside here, let's jump into the office and let's get this giant jumbo engine started, and let's get ourselves underway for our little test flight. Alrighty, so here we are inside the cockpit here. So it's a very cramped cockpit, that's for sure. But it, nice and tight. But as you expect, and the things like the texturing is quite nice again as well, with a bit of weathering going on as well, which is always nice to see again. So the weathering goes through not just the outside but on the inside, and gives us that little worn look as well, which is always quite nice. Alrighty, so now the other thing to notice as well is we'll have a look at the main display here. As you can see, it's all in German. So they've kept the accuracy of that, which is nice as well. So everything is in German. So you can either learn German or at least or read the manual so you can figure out where everything is. Keeps it nice and clear and nice and simple. But again, it's all basic gauges. You'll figure it out where it all is. So that's all good. But it's nice to actually sort of keep that sort of immersion part of it as well, which is really nice. Okay, so yeah, you got your main flight display here. We've got an arming panel for this the bomber variant. The other one, the G2, is the anti-tank tank killer one, with two giant cannons strapped under the wings. But yes, alright, enough of that. So the most important panel that you will need during sort of takeoff here is, of course, the switches down here, the electrical switches. There are no shift pop-ups, so everything is done from the virtual cockpit, except one of the most important steps for actually being able to do an engine start. But we'll get to that in just a second. Beyond that, you've got your radio. So this is the old-fashioned dial-type radios. No, the digital displays or digital readouts or anything like that for you. This is all done the old-fashioned way. If you do hover your mouse over it, though, you will get a tooltip popping up, so you can actually see what frequency you're tuned into. You also get to sit in the. You can also sit in the back, in the gunner's position and the navigator's position, where you would normally operate the radios or defend the Stuka with the twin machine guns at the back here. And then you've also got this cute little thing, this interesting little thing here. So this is a little bomb aiming slot. Basically, it just tells you where everything is. So you can actually look down and see what's below the aircraft, so you can be ready to drop your bombs and all the rest of it and take an aim. So that's nicely modelled. I like that. I do like that. Alright, enough of this tomfoolery. Let's us get our engine started and underway. Alright, so the first thing is we need to drop one Set of flaps. Okay, we're gonna prop set to 100%. Okay, everything open. Now, what we need to do is we need to go. Now, do you have to do a keyboard command here? You have to do Shift M to actually get the battery energized. Then we need to turn the generator on, turn our fuel pumps on. We need to get the engine start going. Right, now we should uncage the engine starter and then it will go according to plan. There we go, and we are up and running. There's the engine going. Beautiful, nice jumbo engine. Now, you can just use Control E if you don't want to do that. However, there is a gotcha with the Control E. You have to make sure that you turn on the fuel pump. Otherwise, it will sort of just keep trying to start the engine over and over and over again, even though it's actually technically started. So, yeah, a little bit of a bug, that one, but that's more of an FSX bug rather than sort of like an aircraft bug. So just be aware of that one. So just something to be aware of. I'm going to go through and finish activating my other things down here. Let's get our nav lights on. Okay, alright. One of the cool things that I love about the cockpit as well is this little dive indicator as well, because when it does the dive bombing. But anyway, alright. So we are done now. Okay, now our tail wheel should be unlocked. Now, one thing I know, I think I'm parked a little too close to this building, so we're going to use the services of the ground crew. And we're going to back it up a little bit. Now, one thing that you may notice here is you may notice that the at the moment the cockpit looks like it's empty and there's nobody in it. Well, okay, there's a reason for that. Let's jump back into said cockpit. Alright, so down here, if you click the pilot's seat, that actually turns the animation of the pilots on and off. I think we should be backed up just far enough now for now. And of course, now we can see that there we are, our fearless pilot and our fearless navigator and gunner are all set and ready for action. So yeah, it's a cool little thing. Some aircraft, I've noticed some both free and payware aircraft do that, sort of just, you can remove them. So you can do things like live screenshots when they're sitting on the ground and things open and whatever. So yeah, just an FYI on that one. Alright, enough of that. Let's, as I said, get back in. We'll taxi out and we'll get our flight underway. Alright, so everything running smoothly. Let's taxi out. Now, one of the things about this aircraft is that its ground handling is somewhat challenging, that's for sure. So just like the real thing, the ground handling can be quite challenging, as she will tend to want to keep going in the direction that you've started turning in. So it is a good idea to get used to a bit of differential braking, and just remember that it's about sort of slow movements, clean movements. be able to move yourself around. We've got our 1-notch flaps ready, so we're going to taxi over here. So we're at a Libyan airport today. We're going to be departing from runway 31. We're going to do a trip around the countryside and then come back in for our landing. And that wasn't a taxiway. Oops, awkward. It was actually, if you ever see any film as well, you'll actually see that these aircraft would actually, when they taxi, they would actually go from side to side. So it's a common thing on sort of tail sitting aircraft to actually sort of do that, to be able to sort of like see what's in front of you, because you've got your dirty big great big engine in front of you, so you can't always see what's going on in front of you. But they've definitely sort of modelled the challenges of actually being able to, maneuver the aircraft. I think they've done those quite well. Alright, so we're going to taxi over here to our runway. Alright, so here we are, we're taxiing out onto the runway here. We've got our 1-notch flaps set for takeoff. Just bring it back into the runway center line. Alright, near enough to center. Alright, okay. Alright, so we look like we're good, ready for takeoff. Alright, power on. Now she can seem quite, now she can be quite sluggish to actually sort of get her, get her speed up. As I said, your ground handling is a bit of a nightmare. I know she's bad to handle on the ground, but I think MilViz have possibly overdone it a bit. Lean back, and off we go into the wild blue yonder. I know for a climb rate we aim for about 210 kilometers an hour is what we want on our climb rate. Positive rate, so we can bring the flaps up. We're taking off with about a 10 knot almost crosswind there, or sort of side wind there. So we've had about a 5 knot crosswind component. So yeah, they've modelled the challenges that this unique design can face, I think, reasonably well. I think in terms of the characteristics as well of how she flies, they've definitely captured, I think, the challenging nature of it. It's not that's it seems simple, but it can really sort of had some quirks to it, which I think overall I think they've done quite well to do, and they've modelled them really quite well actually. She can be quite, especially with those Gull Wings. Crosswinds are just a bad idea to deal with. They really are. So yeah, it is something to be aware of, and it can catch the unwary pilot if you're not careful. I know first few flights in this were definitely very challenging, just simply because of the fact that I got caught in. I tried to do a crosswind takeoff and with about 10 knots, and it didn't end well. So modelling wise of that kind of part of the flight dynamic, they've done very nicely. Alright, as we sort of turn and climb to and continue our climb to a bit of altitude here Let's have another bit more of a detailed look at the exterior model. So again, the exterior model, then we're going to sort of get a chance to look at the underneath now as well. So as I said, this particular version that we're looking at with the we're flying at the moment is the the D5. So this is the one that has the is the bomber. So it's got the actual bomb. So you get the 500 kilogram bomb, at the 1,000 kilogram bomb in the on the center line, and then you've got 4 smaller ones on the wings, and all modeled quite nicely. The other thing that, of course, the Stuka is known for is that screaming sound it makes when it used to come in for a dive. That wasn't part. That was part of the early models. That was not part of the design of the later models. So hence why it's not there. However, you can click a little switch in the cockpit, and if you want, you can enable them. Just a little odd thing though, the sound though is not set to any kind of airspeed or aircraft attitude or pitch or anything like that. It's set to the brake button. Not quite sure why they chose to do that. That seemed a bit odd to me, but that is an option that you can have, so you can see it if you do want to see it and put it in for a bit of fun. It is there, and you just trigger it, as I said, once you're in the air, and just use the brake key for that. So as I was saying before, in terms of the flight dynamics, it's quite. They've captured the fact that you do have to sort of it's a challenging aircraft to trim. In still air, she is quite stable. But when you're talking about if you've got any kind of winds and stuff like that, then you do have to sort of manipulate it a bit more, and she can tend to quite easily get herself into a turn, just simply because with the wind impacting on the wings and stuff like that, you've got a crosswind. So yeah, that is something to be aware of. So I think that one's not too bad and quite nicely done. You've got the trim gauges sort of down the side there. Now, one thing that as I said before, we noticed that of course we've got the weaponry on the outside. Now, you do have a weapons arming panel here, which you can activate, and it will give you all the aural tones. However, it appears that that MilViz have disabled the bomb release effects, which they're talked about in the manual, and it is a feature of the original release of this title, but it appears that it is not has not been implemented in the Steam Edition release of this title, which is a bit of a shame. As I said, like the manual talks about it, but it's not there. I'm sure there's reasons why they've chosen to not include it, but yeah, no, they have chosen to not include it. But for those who are interested, you said you can still bring the arming panel alive. So to do that, we need to go down to our circuit breakers. We need to engage weapon systems. Oh, and there you go. And that was the example of the aircraft sort of doing its odd thing when it comes to the yeah, it'll just sort of like it'll wander and be affected by winds of the various winds and whatever. All right, so now down here we need to set that to vertical, Cool. Do master fuse on. So we'll set our weaponry going. Alright, so to ignite your arm, so you've got the main switch here, which is for your centerline weapon. So we switch this one to safety off. Then we arm the fuse. Now we'll undo the safeties on our outer munitions as well. Alright, turn off the auditory warning. We know that they're armed. We've got the big red buttons there as well. Alright, now I will do a dive, a pretend dive attack for this one. But as I said, it's supposed to be that it has an inbuilt effect that you trigger, but that will trigger once you set all the parameters. So, for example, one of the parameters you have to set is the radio altimeter, the automatic release. So we'd set that for 1500. Level course there. But yeah, as I said, it seems to not be done. So let's we'll go through the procedure though. So funny enough, I learned about this procedures from reading Winkle Brown's sort of testament to when he test flew a captured version of this aircraft. Very interesting. Anyway, so we need to we've got that set. We need to bring back our throttles, bring back the prop pitch. Find a suitable target on through my little finder there down the bottom. Crossroads looks about right. Yeah, and alright, we've got a procedure, radio release altimeter set, dive brakes open, by the way that gauge on the side, that's to show so you know what degree you're doing from the horizon. Bombs away. Tuck those dive brakes back in. As I said, it looks like it's been disabled in the Steam version of this one, which is a bit of a shame because you know well look, it's a gimmick anyway. All it was just the release effect and stuff like that. It would have been nice to be able to have had it, but anyway, small thing. As I said, small thing, but you know, kind of frustrating at the same time. Funny enough, as I'll safe these weapons as we start to head back to the airfield, it actually brings me to one of my sore points about this aircraft. As I said, there's the gotcha that we mentioned before about the starter. So you know you've got to do the shift, the shift M, the keyboard command. You have to do a couple of other things as well, and you know. It's just the starting sort of process is not very good. One of my biggest issues that I have actually with this is actually the manual. The manual is not written very well. Let's just say that. It's really light on detail. It goes through a whole heap of historical procedures and stuff like that, but it's really light on detail. It's it just seems like it's almost like they just didn't get around to finishing it, and it's not just the Steam version; it's something that's been mentioned on other sites as well. Um, it's like it mentions stuff, but then doesn't actually write about it in the manual. So it seems like the manual's like not fully finished, so it misses some fairly important procedures or steps of procedure of during the startup procedures and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a bit of a bugbear for me. The other problem that I have is slowing this aircraft down. It's really hard to slow down. Like it is really hard to slow down. Like I'm actually going to go around here because I've come in way too fast because I should have been able to slow down then, but there was just no way I could. And yeah, it's just seems that a few things just it's overall probably the best representation you're going to get of the Stuka for FSX. And there are a lot of good points to this, but yeah, there's a couple of the things where it's just kind of like, not quite sure what you were going for that one. Alright, let's head back out. We'll just try that. We'll try that landing again. Because yeah, as I said, my approach speed should be sort of 200 knots or less. But trying to get it down to 200 knots is really hard. Your cruise is quite comfortably at 250, 300 with all the right settings and throttle settings and mixture and control settings or whatever. But yeah, trying to slow it down is really hard. Right. As I'm doing that, I've just realised I think there's a model discrepancy here. So the Stuka, like the Bond version had instead of having machine guns in the wings, it had two 20mm cannons, which are there. But if I look at the exterior model, they're not on the exterior model. That's a disturbing oversight. Okay. Alright, I'll add that to my list of things that are not so good about it. Yeah, that's a really disturbing... How do you miss that, guys? Like, you've modelled it right there. How do you not model on the exterior? Yeah, no, it's on the other side. Yeah, no, it's on both sides correctly. Okay, really weird. Anyway, okay. So, look, okay, well, that adds to my list of things that I'm not so fussed about. So, as I said, I should be able to get this approach speed down to sort of, sub 200 knots. Sort of 180, 200 knots. But, I'm coming in, zero throttle. Really got to sort of hit the side slip on this one to be able to bring it down. So, and she's very quickly builds up speed again. So I think there's something not quite right there, but still, as I said, this is also probably going to be the best version of the Stuka you're going to find for FSX out there. So yeah, pros and cons, swings and roundabouts. It's got its issues, absolutely. It's got some beautiful parts about it as well. As I said, the 3D model's really, really nice. The texturing is quite beautiful as well. The 3D, well, actually, I was going to say the 3D model's really, really nice, except for that missing cannons on the exterior model. But anyway, all right. Bring that in. Crabbing that one in was quite interesting. Alright. Well, that landing could have been better, that's for sure. Alright, so we'll exit the taxiway here. Yeah, look. Okay. As I said, it's it's got its good points, but it's got a few not so good points as well. So it's one of those things where, I want to sort of say yes, it's good, but and look, as I said, it's got its elements that are good. It's got things that are nice about it. Yeah, but it's also got some gotchas. Ugh. It depends. If you really love this aeroplane, you're probably either going to want to get it because it's as I said, the only real sort of like decent version of a Stuka out there, but it's got a few bugbears in it here which sort of do detract a bit from it for me. Yeah. Alright, let's get you moving. Yep. Turn it around. Come on. As it things like the ground steering, I know the ground handling on the real aircraft was bad. I'm sure it wasn't this bad though. So yeah. Alright, let's park this one up and then we'll switch out to the cannon armed variant and we'll have a look at that one and then we'll wrap this one up for today. Alrighty, so here we are in the other version of this that's included, flying over the snowy lands of Germany. So, yeah, this is the second version you get. You get the cannon-armed G2. So this one sort of gives you the two underwing cannons, no bombs or anything like that. Again, very, very similar in how it works. Nothing really sort of hugely different. The main thing that is different about it is that you don't have the dive brakes. They're not there because, of course, this one wasn't used as a dive bomber. It was there for the two giant cannons under the wing. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much exactly the same. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Look, I'm going to round out this review by saying, you know what, yeah, okay, yes, it's got its good points. However, unfortunately, I think the bad points outweigh the good points for this one. There are very few Stukas out there in FSX, so you're kind of limited by what you have. This one, however, I feel has a few too many bugs in it. The ground handling, as I said, I know the ground handling on the real aircraft was pretty bad, but the ground handling in this is awful. Like, it is absolutely awful. It doesn't work properly. The tail wheel, the tail wheel lock doesn't seem to do anything visually on the model, nor does it seem to actually sort of really help you in anything you hear as well either. You essentially have to basically, you've just got to like jam on your differential brakes to be able to do anything with it, and it's just yeah, it can't be, wouldn't be that bad in real life. They've removed, well, at least, as I said, not having flown the original release of this, but from looking at the manuals and stuff like that, you should be able to drop the bombs, but that's been removed from the Steam release. The fact that it doesn't seem to sort of be able to slow down correctly as it should do, that's just a little bit, yeah, it's just, it's not right. It's not right. So, as much as I want to recommend this, I can't, because there are just so many glaring issues with it. It's a real shame because, as I said, like, overall, it's pretty good. Some of the effects are quite nice, and the texturing work is great. But it just gets let down by some of these little modeling things as well, which is a bit of a shame. So, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna say I'm not gonna recommend this one. Look, if you like it, if this is if it grows a particular fascination for you, then you might be able to overlook some of these things. But at the same time, yeah, I just can't overlook them. I'm afraid. Yeah, visually it's amazing, but practically once it's actually in the sim, yeah, it loses a lot of the luster, which is a bit of a shame, really. The other thing that really killed it for me, of course, was the manual. The manual just seems to be half finished. It refers to things which are just simply not in the manual. It says, look up this section of the manual, and it's not there. Key steps in things like your startup procedures and your shutdown procedures are just simply not present inside the actual manual, which is huge, again, huge oversight. So it's just a real shame that they're not there, and it just, yeah, it just didn't get the polish I think it should have. As I said, there's some great work has gone on in this, but I'm going to have to say it really needs a lot more spit and polish to really make it up to the aircraft that we should have. So just saying, like even this, it's just not stable. It's just not. And yeah. Anyway, it's easy on frame. It's fairly easy on frames. Keeps you out of trouble. But there you go. All right. Well, we're going to call the review there. As I said, I want to say thank you very much once again to the wonderful guys over at Dovetail Games for providing me with the review copy of this aircraft today. Don't forget, folks, to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying these videos and want to see more. And of course, as always, you can catch up with me and all the things I'm up to between videos by finding me on Facebook and on Twitter. Just search NovaWing24. Alright, folks, thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.